What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Rob here with RK Motorsports, and today we're going to be continuing the reassembly process of our 2007 Honda CBR 600RR. So it has been a few months since I originally took this thing all apart, had it stripped down, swapped over the new frame, and basically it's just been sitting in the same spot since then. I've got, parts laying all over. I've got parts all over here, and this thing is in a terrible spot. It is right in the middle of my workshop. Unfortunately, other projects came in line. I had to, help other people get their bikes going for the season, so this thing was kind of put on the back burner. So right now, I'm gonna try and get this thing mostly slapped together. I'm gonna get the motor components all on the bike, get the exhaust on, get the radiator on, try and get as much of this bike together so that way I can move this thing around, because right now this is in a terrible spot. One other thing to note, I've got my new subframe. I got this off of a donor bike. This is our old one that was all spray painted red, and that was the one that was cracked on the back. So I have the new subframe here. I'm gonna swap that onto the bike, and that's gonna be the first thing we're gonna start with. So let's do that. All right, so we've got our throttle bodies on there now. We've got our coil packs in. We've got all of our vacuum, our air hoses routed. Now, the next thing I'm gonna do is put the air box on, but first, before we do that, I was checking out the air filter, and it looks like we have an aftermarket K&N air filter. You can see on the top right there, K&N, but this thing is super dirty. So first, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab my K&N little recharge kit. It comes with a cleaner and an oil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna prep this air filter, clean it and oil it, and then after that is all set, we can throw that in the air box and then get that on the bike. So let's clean this dirty K&N air filter next. So first thing you're gonna need to clean the air filter is a surface to prep it on. Got that old box. We've got the air filter. Throw that right there. We've got our K&N recharge kit. So the directions say to spray the cleaner on both sides of the air filter, and this is just gonna help loosen up all of the dirt and grime that kind of got caught in this air filter. So we are gonna soak this bad boy with the cleaner, and we'll come back in a little bit after it's soaked. Now we're gonna rinse this from the inside out because we wanna push all of that dirt out of the filter. We don't wanna push it into the filter even more. And we're gonna rinse this until all traces of the cleaner are gone. You can see all that stuff falling out already. And that's the outside now. That looks really nice compared to what we were dealing with before. So now we have to shake this off, and I'll set this out in the sun to dry for a little bit. Once that's dry, we can apply our oil and it'll be all set to put back in the bike. So now that our filter is dry, step 4 is to oil the filter. Now it says hold it about 3 inches away. And if there are any spots we need to touch up in the future, say where the oil didn't go on all the way, we can go back and touch that up. Now, while we are waiting for our air filter to sit for about 20 minutes, we can move forward with getting the air box and all the duct pieces back on the bike. So let's do that right now. Alright, so now that I've got the airbox back on the bike, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start routing all of the electrical. I'm going to start routing the wiring harness up and throughout the bike. Now this is going to be a little bit time consuming, so I'm going to speed things up. I'm going to do a quick time lapse of me plugging and routing everything in. Alright, so I've got pretty much everything plugged back in, everything routed where it's supposed to be for the wiring harness, and everything is looking super nice, super good, and it did actually go back together a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. The only thing that I did notice when I first picked up the bike, I did notice that these wires were kind of ripped and torn apart. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and splice these wires back together. I'm going to get my soldering iron out. We're going to kind of pull back some of the plastic, get those soldered, and that should tie everything else with our electrical system all back together. Alright, so I've got all of these wires soldered together. I've also got the shrink tubing around those so that way we have a nice clean connection and they're not going to short out between each other. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move forward with the exhaust. We're going to slap the exhaust back on the bike. Then I'm going to move forward and put the radiator back on the bike, and we're really going to start tying this thing together. So let's start moving on to the exhaust right now. Looking good. All right, so we've got our exhaust, we've got our headers on. We don't have the slip on yet, but you know, we're gonna get there. We've got our radiator on. There is a little bit of a dent in the radiator, but you know, there's no holes. It's not really punctured or anything, so we're gonna leave that as is. We've got our hose clamps all connected. We've got our radiator mounted on top and bottom, and this thing is starting to come together. So on the next episode, we are going to be doing the fork seals. We're going to be getting the radiator flushed and filled. We're going to get the rest of that exhaust on there, and we're going to do a couple other odds and ends, and hopefully we can get this thing fired up. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Stick around for the next part, and hopefully we can get this thing finished real quick. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.